Hey team, what's up? Hold on, it's not nighttime. I don't know how people wear those for long. They just cut out so much color. Anyway, welcome back to another episode, and I'm excited for today's because I try to keep it short, sharp, punchy, and effective. And essentially, it was just about expanding our horizons to what is around us and what we may be missing out on by not realizing it, and how we can open ourselves up to opinions other than our own or those that reinforce the things that we believe in. So enjoy the episode, and also wherever you're at in life, in your space, in your place, whatever you're doing, accept it, and that's okay. But that just by accepting it doesn't mean that that's how it's going to be. So if you want to know a little bit more and you feel like you're up for a challenge, then go to www.identityhuman.com and join the waitlist, because we will start to run some challenges again, and we'll start to get a bit deeper than what these podcasts do and a bit more personal, because that's when we bring the energy. Okay, anyway, enjoy the episode. I appreciate you. Welcome back to the Identity Human podcast, and it's me, your host, Don. First of all, I do want to say I'm very grateful. If this is your first time here, welcome to the studio, same as you'll see in everyone else's. But also, I'm more grateful that you're giving your time, and I'm making sure that we try and add as much value as possible. And if this is your second, third, fourth, 100th, technically not possible because we're only on episode like 83 or something, then I'm also very grateful for you being here. If you have just joined though, I started this so that you could actually see what it takes to start a podcast, and we are now 83 odd episodes in. If you go and listen to the first episode, you will literally hear me reading notes from a book, unedited. I even went through a childhood favorite movie theme song to try and get people to guess, and there's been quite a journey up to this point. We're still, it's amazing. It's been an amazing experience so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes, because I'm always learning, always trying to make sure that we're giving the best value that we can, because time is precious, and you're giving your time to listen to this. So you're either out on a walk, going for a run, driving a car, or sitting at home. And by the way, if you're sitting at home listening to this, props to you. I have to be moving when I listen to things, so already I want you to appreciate how well you're doing. So today I just want to make it quick, short, sharp, and hopefully effective, because it's not something that I think we usually get taught to think about. And in fact, I think we're actually getting taught the opposite of this. I think we are, in this whole journey to know yourself, we come closed off to opinions that are not suited to us. If you think about the whole state of the world in terms of everyone's trying to prove each other right or wrong, who's better, who's not better, everyone's trying to be righteous and taking on the defense of others without actually ever seeing what's the end point here. And I think if you take even in coaching example, it's like you have to niche down. You have to niche down to like age, height, sex, just as small and specific as possible. You got to focus on that, right? Now here, this is where I introduce a slightly different way of thinking. It's making sure, and I'm going to call it like your generational environment. How is your generational environment? What I mean by that is, well, if you don't have multi-generation opinions, then what happens is you become insular. So actually you can be right in your own context, but it's your own context, and sometimes you may lose sight of how that fits into everyone else. And far too often I have interacted with people that don't get along with their in-laws, that don't get along with their parents, that don't get along with youngsters, and take it one step further in biasing people into Gen Z, Gen X, Gen Y, millennials, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, we are trying so hard to put people into categories and label them. And yes, I do understand it, like, don't get me wrong. It's so useful for understanding, but there is a very fine line between using something for understanding and using something to prove who's better. And I think we far too often are swinging to that other bit where, they're Gen Z, so therefore this is what they do and they're hopeless. That is not what that's meant for. We're meant to use that to understand people's drivers and motivations and how we can lead each other better and just get along better, but instead we use it to be divisive. And this is what I want to just attack today. Not necessarily attack, just give a thought on is, if you do not have generations, you become insular. You will become insular. Now, that insular might be wrong. That insular might be right. But then I want to introduce the concept of you may have heard this, it may have been introduced somewhere else. And I often find that when I connect the dots and I go, wow, look at what I've just thought of, it's already out there in books and everything, but it's just never been passed on to me. So the concept of two truths can exist at the same time. What I mean by that is when you become insular, that doesn't mean that the insular viewpoint that you have adapted, created, that you go by, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It's right. But that also doesn't mean that everyone else's viewpoint that doesn't suit that is wrong. Because if you can start to think of the two truths, it's you're right and they are right. Therefore, you're wrong and so are they. And if you can both approach a conversation or a viewpoint that, listen, I'm right and I'm wrong, and you're right and you're wrong, how do we get some common ground? That's where I think the magic gets made. And I want us to try and, instead of when we're arguing with someone, go, oh, they're wrong. And we do that, don't we? We hold on to our beliefs. Imagine how much better we get along if we just start to say, they're also right. So where can I learn from them? And by the way, I'm going to take this now to you because I know you're not listening to this in a group. And if you're watching the video, I'm pointing at the camera so that it becomes effective. How is your generational environment? As in, are you surrounding yourself with people that think like you, talk like you, walk like you, want to be like you, so therefore reinforce you and don't question you and challenge you? Or do you have people that are 20 years older, 30 years older, 40 years older, as well as 10 years younger, 5 years younger, 15 years younger? Do you have all different viewpoints around you to make sure that you're taking into consideration not just yourself and your niche, but also how your niche affects another niche and how it interacts? Because if you believe that we're all connected, these are the things that we have to start to think about, is how can we start to create as much value and focus on our niche. I know this is counterproductive or counterintuitive what I'm saying. Focus so much on our niche that it becomes this golden light for the rest. But you need to focus on yours so that you can connect the other dots. Okay, so where does this come from? Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to preach, but I do live with my in-laws. I do have my mom living with me, and I do have 4 children. So, you know, when it comes to generational viewpoints, they are certainly there. And I can tell you, we don't get along if I try and put myself in the bracket of I'm younger than you and you're oldies, just this and this fixed. Actually, there's so much value. So much value in the grandparents. There's so much value in the kids. And I really have to fight the because I said so, because I know better than you do, because actually I'm more experienced and I've gone through things and I can probably guide them, but at some point I'm going to be a negative influence. Like I said last week or a couple of episodes ago, is that eventually I become that accidental mentor that is limiting them. And we can't do that. So a good example, and Ray pulled me out from this the other day, just like a month ago. Miles said, Dad, when I go older, I want to build a big explorer ship. I want to design it and I want to go and explore the depths of the ocean. And he had this conversation with me, and then he went and had it with Ray. And when he had it with me, I was like, yeah, okay, but how are you going to make the money? How are you going to do this? And just started to ask plausible questions like, you know, are you going to be the one building it? Are you going to fund it? And I was like, we can't really go that deep in the ocean. I didn't realize it at the time, right? Accidental mental moment. Ray then said to me, she said, oh, Miles just told me this. And I know I overheard your answer, and said, but you've got to be careful that we're limiting their imagination. And I was like, you're so right. Because she was like, when he told her, she was like, yes, that's amazing. He was really go after that. And remember, he's a kid. He's not about to spend £5 million on a boat or on a career on studying, whatever. Like, he must be let to imagine and see what he can create. And I was like, I can't believe I did that without even realizing it. And I'm quite big on that kind of thing. That's why, like, when Ray pointed it out, there was no ways I was challenging that back. I was like, I can't believe I did that. And so I just want to make sure that you're aware that you're doing that to yourself. Other people are doing that to you. You're doing that to other people. And we really have got to try and rise above it. And let's see how we can start to get people excited for life and making sure we're breaking the rhythm of you just got to get used to do this. You just got to do it this way. You've just got to just give up on your dreams. They're too big. All that kind of stuff. It's just, I think it's about making sure that we're connecting with everyone else, but not losing ourselves at the same time. So I did have a coaching call this morning with someone. It was just about all the coaching sessions that she came on. It's all about work. And it's all about these things. And eventually I said to her, like, what about you? And as soon as she got into what about her, she then went back into work. And by the end of it, she's like, I'm really sorry, I just wasn't in the headspace today. And I don't know if that was that effect. And I was like, it was exactly what it needs to be. It was the first time in 10, 15 coaching sessions you've actually let down your guard. And it was a really good moment. So, and I think that's an example of like an insular viewpoint that's become so insular that there's only one viewpoint, even when it's pointed out, because it was just about work and how things were affected at work. And there was no connecting dots as to how she was affected at work, how family was affected at work, and anything else. Nothing else kind of mattered. So, yeah, I just want to challenge you and your generational environment. Like, go and find older role models, go and find younger role models, go and reverse mentor, go and do all these different things where you're challenging your own bias, not because you want to prove yourself wrong, but you want to just round yourself up better, so that you can actually maybe go, oh, this whole time I was wanting to have an effect on maybe X, and I've just seen that I can't have an effect on X because there's a supply chain, there's a support circle, there's something else happening back there that I know I can deal with but never thought about. So yeah, I'm probably going off on a tangent a little bit. I'm going to bring it back. I want your takeaway to listen to people that disagree with you, and if you need help opening up, then a question I'm going to give you to ask yourself when you get frustrated or you're bashing heads is to ask, what led to this point? So what led to that person holding that opinion? What led to that person being so passionate about how they see things? What led to the emotional outburst that you've just seen in that person? What led to them wanting to argue with you? What led to you wanting to be angry? As soon as you ask that question, it opens up so much understanding, because then you start to try and piece, and you're not worried about their emotions, you're not worried about their opinion, you're just going, okay, so this person went through this, they went through that, and I completely understand why they hold that viewpoint. It doesn't mean it's right, it doesn't mean it's wrong, but I can listen to it. I think that's half the battle. So that's my biggest takeaways, is you listen to people that disagree with you, and if you struggle to do that, ask yourself the question, what led to this point? Okay, remember that. We're going to have it, double up an African saying, so proverbs is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Okay, so yes, you may be able to reach somewhere in the next couple of months or years, but we're on this legacy thing. You've got to think about the tomorrow that you're leaving behind for the kids or your grandkids or your great-grandkids and all that kind of stuff. That's far. So how do we go there together? You, me, someone else you're listening to. If you've got value from this, understand that someone else is going to get value from this. And how do we spread a message? How do we connect with people to make sure that we're all rising up and we're not just accepting a rhythm of less than, accepting a rhythm of lack of value, and that we're not just accepting this rhythm of operating from a place of fear. And you can become that mentor that you needed to someone else. Like, that's in your hands. Your future is open. The past may be determined. You can't change it. You can change how you see it. But your future is open to you. And how you change your future is you just, what do you do next? What do you do this afternoon? What do you do tomorrow? What choice are you going to make? And if you think that choice is determined, you have a chance to break it just by thinking about it. So let's see what you got. Okay, so I'm going to end it there, short, sharp, a bit of a ramble off, but I'm happy, and I hope you are too. Thank you very much for listening. Remember, I'll work on me for you if you work on you for me. And as my shirt says, Ubuntu, we are who we are through others. Thank you very much, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Bye.